Auston Matthews was marvelous in the Maple Leafs victory over the Calgary Flames. The skid stops at 4. We'll break it all down and tee up this weekend's back-to-back against the Canucks and the Kraken on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leafs-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Dave, the streak is over. The Leafs finally win a 4-3 victory over the Flames. The third period was a bit of a sweat, but they held the lead and got it done. They snapped the skid, picked up the full 2 points. Is the pressure alleviated now after that one?
I mean, just look at Sheldon Keefe's face after the game, the reaction with the coaching staff after the game. You don't tell me that's a coach that wasn't feeling the pressure.
That was a little bit of a firm handshake at the end of that one. And like handshakes like that, not to dive too much into it, but handshakes like that are usually reserved for like when you win a round in the playoffs. Last year was completely different. I mean, that guy almost tore his ACL jumping, when Tavares scored that goal. But, when John Cooper wins a series, typically that's the style of handshake he gives his assistants. That basically probably tells you what all you need to know about how much that game actually meant to the team. And you know what? Outside of the first 10 minutes where I don't think the team played very well, I thought that, they fought for that victory. They certainly did tonight, I think.
I do think so. The first period could not have gone any worse. Like, the only thing that I think gave them any life was that Matthews goal at the end of the period. Yeah. But like, I was watching that first period, I'm like, this looks like a team that maybe was looking very uninspired. And then from there, the Matthews goal just obviously flipped the switch for that team, because that second period was just a clinic.
Well, Auston Matthews put on a clinic, man. Like that, this team doesn't win that game if Auston Matthews doesn't, like you said, like that was almost that was the TSN turning point, as it's coined by our friends at TSN, and the Maple Leafs finally took advantage. Then they came out in the second period and they scored 3 goals in the second pretty quickly. Again, led by Auston Matthews, who 4 goals tonight for the Maple Leafs. 4 points for Auston Matthews, including the 4th hat trick of the season for Auston Matthews. He's just 1 hat trick. We're halfway through the season, Dave. Only halfway through the season. I guess half plus 2 games. And this guy already is just 1 hat trick shy of tying a season record set by Jonathan Cheechoo back in 2005. Isn't that insane?
What a name drop that was. Like, Jonathan Cheechoo.
Yeah.
I remember that year where he put up 50+ goals
with the Sharks.
Thornton got the MVP, the Hart Trophy, Art Ross that year.
Yeah.
A crazy, crazy time. But like, to give you even more context on like what Auston Matthews is doing right now, shout out Nick D'Souza for putting this out there. Phil Kessel, we know, great goal scorer with the Leafs during his time with the Leafs. His season high with the Leafs was 37 goals. Auston Matthews has 37 goals in 42 games.
It's pretty crazy, man. I mean, he's a little bit off of the 50-50 mark that I was maybe suggesting he had a chance to reach around game 25 or so.
He could change that still.
It's a little tough. Like, 12, he needs 13 goals in 7 games. It's going to be a little tough to hit 50-50 at this point. But, man, the fact that he's even going to hit 40 by game 50. He might even have 45 by game 50 at the rate that he's going. 50 might be a little bit of a stretch, but I mean, at the rate that this guy's scoring goals and they're coming in bunches. Like it seems like anytime he scores, though, like you can expect another one's going to come at some point that night. Like he has 11 multi-goal games already on the season. Like
Yeah.
it's unbelievable what this guy is doing. And when he's on his game, I'd love to hear, like, we're recording this so soon after the game ended where we haven't had a chance to listen to commentary or listen to the post game press conferences. But if I were there, if I were, in Calgary tonight covering the team, I would ask Sheldon Keefe very cheekily, hey, did Auston Matthews look like he was on another planet tonight? Because he did. Like that, he really, really did.
He did. And it's why he's always in that, realm of like the Hart Trophy candidates, right? On our ranking with the Locked On NHL podcast host, he's 10th. William Nylander not among the top 10, by the way, on that. But like this is where during this losing streak, you knew that they were going to need their top players to get them out of it. Yes, play better defensively, hold the lead, yes, but it's their top players that have to be the ones to get them out of it. So
Yeah.
Auston Matthews like, okay, I guess a hat trick is going to have to be the one to get it done.
Well, that's the thing. It's like top players, but he, as the top player, was like, all right, just get on my back. Let's go. Like, let's go. And hey, there were MVP chants raining down for Auston Matthews inside the Saddle Dome. Like, it's wild. Like, Leafs Nation travels. We know that. But for there to be MVP chants inside the opposition's building, man, that's just. Oh, I would hate that. I know I certainly would hate to hear that if I were a Flames fan. So I'm sure that cut very, very deep into a lot of those fans that were in attendance tonight and probably watching on the tube. But man, the guy had one of those MVP performances, and it wasn't just scoring goals; it was defending. It was ripping pucks off of guys. He had an active stick all night long and was, making sure that he kept plays alive for him and Marner and Pontus Holmberg, who again gets on the board with another point, an assist again tonight. He's up to, I think, 7 points in his last 5 or 6 games. So he continues to be a nice revelation, working well with that, trio. So we'll see what happens there, in the future. But I think you look at the third period and there was a lot of angst. Like I'm sure a lot of Leafs Nation, felt that way because of how things have gone over the course of the last 4 games. Like they've led in all 4 of those games, and then they lost the lead in the third period. That's just exactly how things have been going with the Maple Leafs, and that's exactly what had to have been in the back of the mind of every single player who was out there. They're up 4-3 going into the third period, and they knew that they were going to have to clamp that down. Another blown lead, multi-goal blown lead, was not going to look good on this team, and things are going to grow louder and louder. They clamped it down the third period. Quarter natural stat trick, 0 high danger chances allowed in the third period by the Maple Leafs for the Calgary Flames, and the Leafs had 9 high danger chances. And look, I thought that they were going to get burned. Like I thought it was going to come back to bite them in the ass. They especially like you'll get the breakaway chances that Mitch Marner and Max Domi had. And look, hey, great saves. Like in the third period, you got some good goaltending on the other end from Dan Vladar. And that's been one of their issues over the course of this lead blowing situation is they haven't been able to stop the bleeding, or they haven't been able to, retake the lead or reestablish a lead once it gets chipped away at. And it seemed like it was going to happen again. Like Marner goes in on a breakaway and he doesn't score. Domi, same thing. And then a couple minutes later, the Flames did score, did tie the game. The lead was blown until good old Jordan Bean and Sam Kim came to the rescue with an absolute video replay call for the ages. A hat tip to the video crew for that one.
Yeah, I mean that because you saw like they were alluding to like a challenge coming, just like where? Like,
Yeah, I know.
where?
Like Gord and Johnny were just like, I don't see any interference. This isn't offside. Like, what could they possibly be challenging? And then like, oh, a hand pass should have been a stoppage earlier. They're challenging for that. And it's like, oh, and then you see the replay. And look, I'll be honest. I don't like that rule. I don't like the fact that a play like that can be replayed and go back and wipe a goal off the board. Like, I know it worked in favor for the Maple Leafs, but I would prefer that that goal always stands just based on the fact that it's just I don't know, man. Like it's hockey, and he didn't really even direct it to Osterley, and I don't know. To me, it's a corny goal to take off the board, but it worked, and it's part of the rule book. And when things, you got to work with the rules that you have,
Yeah.
and that's now 4 for 4 on the year for the Leafs video team when it comes to challenges. And Sheldon Keefe, I think now 18 for 19 in his career, and again, that's thanks to Jordan Bean and Sam Kim. So they should get like the heirs treatment where every damn player and coach should walk up to them, empty their wallets, and just give them a big wad of cash for saving that game for them and saving them a lot of flack from the fan base, from the media, if it were to have become another blown lead game again. And they saved them from that.
Oh, they definitely did. And I think, those guys never get what the credit that they deserve. It's nice that they get recognized during the game and obviously on social media. And I think they were down in the locker room like right after the game too. So that they're getting some semblance of a thanks from the team. I mean, they should be getting the belt.
Yeah, actually, well, either
Auston
give it.
Matthews deserves a belt, but he's gotten the belt so many times this season. Let the video guys get the belt for this one. I mean, it's not just this game. Look back at the Edmonton game where they had that challenge on that
Zach Lyman one, yeah.
was that Hyman one too, right? This isn't, they've put in the work this year, so I think a little recognition going their way would be nice.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'd be curious to see how other fan bases or other coaches do this, but I do think that Sheldon Keefe does give a lot of credit to the video team whenever they do come up with a big call. He's always like, there's a reason why we know their name, right? Like, I don't know if a lot of fan bases know the name, and I know it was said during the broadcast, but like you and I knew the name prior to the broadcast. A lot of fan base, a lot of the fans know who they are because Sheldon Keefe has given them their flowers over the course of his tenure there. Because again, they're 18 for 19. They don't miss. They do not miss. They're perfect 4 for 4 on the season. And it's big when you make a challenge and you wipe a goal off the board. And in this case, it happened to be the game tying goal, and there was no more goals scored afterwards. So that legitimately saved them from having to go to overtime and chance it. And who knows if that goal goes in, that could change the whole complexion of the game. The Flames, the building gets back into it, and who knows how this thing ends up. Instead, the goal comes off the board. It's still 4-3, and the Leafs continue. Hey, we got away with one there. Let's keep pushing. And they did. They withstanded the Flames trying to come out. They took the goalie out. Marner tried in the dying seconds to extend the lead to make it 5-3, missed the net. But either way, it was a good win. It was a solid win after a bit of turmoil this week. Not all is forgotten. Let's not sit here and be like, oh, it's perfect, everything's good with the Maple Leafs. No, we still need to see this carried out on a consistent basis, right? Like, this is a big weekend coming up against Vancouver and Seattle, two very good hockey teams, especially Vancouver, one of the top teams in the NHL. Got to carry over this type of consistency in the way they play in the third period and the second period, and carry that forward and try and play like that every game. If the Leafs can do that, I think they'll be okay. And, we won't have to be all doom and gloom like we've been here within Leafs Nation over the course of the last week.
Yeah, no, this was definitely a much needed. I couldn't imagine what would have happened if they didn't pull this one out tonight. I just would not want to be in that, just Sheldon Keefe facing those questions after that.
No, it would not have been a fun one. And like we even said earlier, that handshake at the end of the game there, with his assistants kind of told us all we need to know about how big of a win that felt like for Sheldon Keefe personally. So good stuff for the Maple Leafs. Let's come back and let's talk about the 3 stars of the game. I think we all know who the top star is going to be, the big dog. But we'll still go through our 3 stars of the game, and we'll tee up this weekend's back to back, going out to Vancouver and then crossing the border in Seattle on Sunday. So we'll get to all that and more coming up on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's show is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find a quality candidate fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agreed Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/locked on. Indeed.com/locked on. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. You need Indeed.
Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL regular season is all wrapped up, and there's still time to get on the action with the playoffs kicking off with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. You can go ahead, place a wager on this weekend's game. Think someone's going to win between the Maple Leafs and the Canucks? Go ahead, place your wager, and get your bonus bucks afterward. The app is so easy to use. There are so many ways that you can bet with live same-game parlays. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. It's the best way to find the popular ones of the day. You can find bets in the new Explore tab and so many more opportunities. So visit FanDuel.com/locked on and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, the official partner of the Locked On Network. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We are your hosts here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's a daily Maple Leafs show. We do have podcasts that come out each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcast from, and also up on YouTube. So if you're new to the program, you're just kind of stumbling upon us, hopefully you've enjoyed what you've heard so far. And if that's the case, go ahead, toss a like, leave a comment down below, and also subscribe. That'd be greatly appreciated. And I mean, if you're an everydayer, thank you so much. We really do appreciate all of you guys. It is much, much appreciated. All right, as we do after every single Leafs victory, we go through the 3 stars of the game. So Toronto snapping the skid. They break that 4-game losing streak. They win 4-3 against the Calgary Flames. Who was your 3rd star of the game, Dave?
I'm gonna give it to Jake McCabe.
Okay.
Solid game play. Like we're talking about, the issues that the Leafs are having with TJ Brody and him taking a step back. Sheldon Keefe comes out and says, I don't know who I can really trust to put out there. Jake McCabe was one of the guys he could trust. He was 3rd. Well, I mean, close second with TJ Brody at 21 minutes in ice time for tonight. Actually, full total ice time was 23 minutes, but he was like among the Leafs leaders in even strength ice time. Like down the stretch, he got a lot of work in this game. Like him and Cal Yarncroke, I think both kind of deserving that 3rd star. They were both relied upon a lot defensively, and also another beautiful hit from, it's like becoming a Jake McCabe special, that hit he laid on Nazem Kadri. I like, just he's been solid. I know that he's on the goal that was disallowed. He loses Zary there. Just a no, it's a tough play there, but I thought for the most part he was pretty solid tonight.
All right, Jake McCabe, getting your third star. I give my third star to Martin Jones. I thought Jones was, had a pretty good game, and early on when the team didn't quite have it, I thought he made a couple of stops. Obviously, yes, a couple of goals did find their way through Martin Jones, but he clamped down after the first period. He allowed just one, technically, I guess two, which was wiped off the board, so it doesn't count. But he's pretty solid then in that third period. Again with that pushing back, he was able to make those saves. So Martin Jones stopping 23-26 tonight. I'm giving him the third star of the game. Second star, Dave.
I mean, how do you not give the Leafs video coaches their due? Second star for me. That review was so crucial for two reasons. You keep the Flames from tying the game. You don't win that challenge, the Leafs then get a penalty.
Yeah.
And we've seen it happen where they blow a lead and it could just have all fallen apart for the Leafs. And it
Question
didn't.
for you. How, if you look at that play, do you think that it was that was a guarantee, or was there some wishy-washy with it?
Well, Michael Backlund actually did say after the game it was in the back of his mind that they could review that play because I think he's the one that touched the puck and he was worried that it was gonna get reviewed.
Interesting. Okay, so that's, as the captain of the other team, I probably would not admit that to the public, but sure. Thank you, Michael Backlund. Yeah, the reason why I asked that is I wonder if that was a big goal, man. And that would have again blown another lead. If what had not if what had happened over the course of the week not happened, I wonder if they would have took that chance. Right? Because it may not have been as obvious because they had to take the time out. They had to get a couple looks at it, and then eventually they decided, okay, yeah, let's challenge it. Would they have even gone that far if they weren't so concerned about blowing another lead with that fourth goal in particular?
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, it's nothing that not an answer we would have, and it's more of a psychological one than a firm one, and probably not even one that we could get a straight answer for. But I do wonder. My mind is going all over the place right now, and that's one of the things I thought about. I also gave the second star though to the video team of Sam Kim and Jordan Bean. Like I said, they're 4 for 4 on the year. They're a big part of the coaching staff, obviously, and there's a lot more that video coaches do than just replay. They're the one that's cutting clips, cutting film for video sessions, and they're pretty tight with the group. So it's nice that they get recognized for the 4 times I guess a year that they get a call right, but they do put in a lot of work behind the scenes. So it's nice when they get the recognition. So we'll also get the recognition, give them the second star. If it wasn't for Auston Matthews and that her oh my goodness, Herculean effort, they could have been a first star, but obviously Poppy is taking home first star tonight, Dave.
Yeah, there's no doubting who the first star was. He was the first. To me, it was like the first star even after the second goal because they were down.
Yeah.
2-0. Second goal was a fluky goal by the Flames, but the Leafs were down bad. And Auston Matthews was just all right, I gotta lift this team up. That's what you expect from Auston Matthews, though. It's not the first time we've seen it. Probably won't be the last time we see it, but yeah, that game
he played like that in the first period against Edmonton.
Yes.
Right? He didn't score, but he played like that.
And he did score the first goal.
Actually, he did score the first goal, but he didn't score a hat trick in that game, obviously. But he was all over it, right? And was doing things without the puck to steal the puck back for his team. He was just weaving in and out of traffic to find open space. he was just so good tonight. And if you look at all 3 goals, they're all scored in different ways, which is why I think obviously why he is the best goal scorer in the world. Look at the first goal, right? Just a beautiful dangle. It was basically a broken play that he made from nothing. Ends up getting, the goal, dekes out the goal, the defender, and then ends up getting the puck on his forehand. Quick release, bang, it's 2-1, and it kind of changed the fortunes of the game. Got the Maple Leafs in it, gave them some life. You look at the second goal, he kind of just is popping in and out. It's a 6-on-5. He has some open space, pops out for a quick one-timer from the dot, bang, into the back of the net. That's a second goal. And then the third goal, that's just a smart hockey play, like realizes that, the Matthew Nye shot and it wasn't handled properly by the goaltender. And there's a big juicy rebound right out in front. He just quickly stops up, gets on his backhand and just fires, a backhanded missile towards the net and it finds its way in. Like that's 3 different ways that he was able to score. Quick wrister, slap shot, backhander. Like this guy can honestly do it all, and it's why he is the best goal scorer in the world. And he's on pace now for 71 goals. 71 goals. It's wild. Wild what this guy's doing right now. Hopefully he can continue it and win this team some more games going forward. I'll give you the final say.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're a little light on his ability to get 50-50. I think there's still a chance if he can put forth a few more hat tricks along the way there. It's certainly possible, but yeah, I mean, I'm just really glad they didn't waste a hat trick. I would have been very disappointed if this team wasted a hat trick because it's not the first time that he scored a hat trick and they haven't won the game. Remember that game against Buffalo earlier in the year where he scored the hat trick and they lost, and I'm just like,
I'll do you one better. There was this one game, he scored 4 goals and lost to the Ottawa Senators. I don't know if you recall it. It was his NHL debut, and that was a real kick in the pills. But tonight they got it done, and he was a big reason why.
Yeah, he took ownership. He late in the game, it was him out there. He was double shifting. He was playing with the fourth line, playing with the top line. Just did it all.
It's who Sheldon Keefe trusts, right? There's not a lot of guys out there that he does have a lot of faith in and trust in, but Auston Matthews is one of those guys. And when he's on his game, which he was tonight, he is one of the best in the world. And any coach would trust that guy and want him out there as often as possible. All right, let's reset and come back and tee up this weekend back-to-back in Vancouver on Saturday, over the border to Seattle on Sunday. So we'll tee up those games for you on the other side. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's episode of the Locked On Leafs podcast is brought to you by Jace Medical. I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, but can we just for a minute talk about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in a decade. Maybe you're planning on traveling this year, and the last thing you want to be is unprepared to take care of yourself or loved one if you fall ill. Jace Medical can give you peace of mind before you ever hop on a flight. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial infections, including UTIs, respiratory infections, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jacemedical.com and use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order at jacemedical.com.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. The Leafs' Western road trip continues. They are now 1-1 on the trip. They lost in Calgary and picked up the victory, or lost in Edmonton, sorry, the other night, and then picked up the victory tonight in Calgary. And now they keep going west out to BC. They've got the Canucks next up, and this is going to be a tough test. I mean, this is obviously going to be the toughest test of this road trip because the Canucks are one of the best teams in the NHL. I mean, it's insane the turnaround that this club has had. They're 30, 11, and 4, 64 points, a 7-11 points percentage, which is second in the NHL behind the Winnipeg Jets, which is another team they have to face twice before the All-Star break and have won 9 of their last 10 games. But the Canucks, I mean, they're also a team that just won a game tonight, close game, won 2-1 against the Arizona Coyotes. This is going to be a tough test for Toronto, and they're going to have to play some of their best hockey if they're going to try and grab 2 points in this one.
Yeah, the Canucks have like everything kind of going for them this year.
Everything.
Like you look at this team, goaltending's there. They got a top defensive pairing in Quinn Hughes and Philip Hronek. And then, they just got some guys like Elias Pettersson, JT Miller,
Brock Besser, like top 5 in league goals, 28 goals now. He scored tonight, 28 goals for Brock Besser.
But like they're doing this because Rick Tocchet has gone through to this team to playing the right way. And that's what's going to make it tough. This is a very disciplined, structured team. They're not cheating in a lot of ways to get to where they are. And that's what's going to make things tough for the Leafs, is because it's a very deep Canucks team. You can't just say, well, try to shut down that top line. They find ways to get other guys scoring. The depth of that Canucks team is going to be very tough for the Leafs to go up against.
Want to play a fun little game?
Ooh, games.
That's probably not so fun for Leafs fans listening out there. Would you like to play this game?
They might hate us for it, but sure, let's do it.
All right. It's called Who's Got More Goals on the Season is the game that we're about to play, David.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, oh yeah. Who's got more goals on the season? Sam Lafferty or Matthew Nyes?
Sam Lafferty.
Who's got more goals on the season? Sam Lafferty or Tyler Bertuzzi?
Oh boy, we're going down this drive. I already know how many goals Sam Lafferty has, so I'm going to go with Lafferty again.
Who's got more goals on the season? Sam Lafferty or John Tavares?
Ouch. Yeah, it's Lafferty.
It's not, actually. That was a trick question.
Is it really?
Tavares has 12 goals. Lafferty has 10 goals on the season.
Oh, it was just 10. Okay, I thought he had a couple more.
No, Lafferty's got 10 goals on the season, and it's just I don't want to sit here and scream about that trade, but even when it was made, we came on this podcast, or I remember I did at the very least, and said the Leafs legitimately chose Ryan Reeves over Sam Lafferty here and moved on from that cap dump to fit Reeves in under the number. And you've got that guy out there. He's got 19 points. 19 points Sam Lafferty has, being a real solid two-way player for the Vancouver Canucks. And he's, it's not like he's playing a lot. He's playing just a little over 12 and a half minutes a game, but he's still 19 points on the year. Ilya Mikheyev, he's got 22 points on the season, 10 goals as well. There's just a couple of former Maple Leafs who are just doing some really good things. All right, I'll ask you one more question of who has more. Okay, one more for you. Who has more goals? Niels Höglander or John Tavares?
I think it's close.
I didn't mean to say Tavares. I meant to say Calle Jarnkrok. Where you with Tavares?
I'll go with Niels Höglander.
Niels Höglander is correct. 12 goals compared to Jarnkrok's 10. So Yeah, it's crazy the amount of depth scoring that team has gotten. It's basically what we're getting to here, and it's coming from lower in the lineup, and that's something that the Maple Leafs just simply have not been able to get, and that's a big reason I think as to why this team has dropped a lot of games and why they have not been able to hold on to leads because when they're not getting the goals from the bottom end of the roster and you have John Tavares with one goal at 5-on-5 in his last 27 games. You've got Willie now goalless in 6 straight games. You need to get it from the bottom end of your roster. And tonight you lucked out with a hat trick. The Leafs lucked out with a hat trick from Auston Matthews and then another one from Mitch Marner. But again, another night where they didn't get any depth scoring, and I think that's a big reason as to why Vancouver's having so much success this year compared to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I will say one thing about Lafferty. I'm happy that he's thriving right now. Obviously, if you're a Leafs fan, you're not happy to see it. He along with some other players on the Canucks do have a really high shooting percentage.
Yeah,
So I think he's at like over 20% this year. So like, yeah, you're gonna score more if you're shooting the percentage better. But the thing is this Canucks team has relied on that depth to produce. Unlike the Leafs, where the depth is not really given those opportunities to produce, nor have they really taken advantage of opportunities to produce as well. Like Bertuzzi, Domi, like those guys have probably been snake bitten way more than a lot of the Canucks guys. But the Canucks guys are making most of their chances.
the Canucks have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players with 10 or more goals. 3 of which have 20 plus goals. The Leafs only have 5 players with 10 plus goals. Just 2 guys with 20 or more. So, yeah, it's depth scoring has been a big issue for this team, and eventually that's going to be the big difference in what gets this team going again, right? When Nick Robertson was adding some goals here and there, when you had Yarncroc adding a couple of goals, when they were getting the scoring from the back end a little bit, they were winning games. Recently, hasn't quite been the case. It's been all right. What's Austin going to do for us? Well, can Marner somehow score a goal? Riley actually has given you a couple of goals. I think he's got 3 in his last 5, I believe. But recently, not a whole lot from elsewhere in the lineup. And in order to beat the Canucks, in order to beat the Seattle Kraken this weekend, I think that's got to change. They got to get some goals from guys not named Matthews, not named Marner, not named Riley. They got to get some goals from somewhere else. Tavares has to chip in. Like when I uncovered that stat last night, it blew my mind. One goal at 5-on-5 through 27 games. He hasn't scored at 5-on-5 since he has 1 goal since the Swedish trip. 1 goal at 5-on-5 since the Swedish trip. You know what goal that was?
No idea.
That was the goal in New York.
Oh, the one
the
that tied the game. Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, which barely touched him. Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of where things are at. So this weekend, I think that's going to be a key. Get some depth scoring, whether it's against Vancouver or even Seattle. Yeah, I think that's going forward. That's the next step to getting this team back into contention. They got to start getting some depth scoring. Can't rely on a hat trick every night. I mean, he might be able to supply it, but can't rely on it.
No. Seattle's also they've struggled a little bit lately. I think they were like on a really good winning streak, and now they've dropped 3 straight. So
yeah, they won like 7 in a row, and then they've lost 3 in a row since then.
And obviously, we know the Canucks are, so it won't be easy. The Canucks, as good as they are putting pucks in net, do a half decent job of keeping them out of the net too.
Yeah, but then after that, they got a back-to-back against the Winnipeg Jets. Nice little home and home, which still very bizarre.
Yeah,
Vancouver, then a Winnipeg, Vancouver, Seattle, back to Toronto, back out to Winnipeg, and then they're off for the All-Star break. Really great scheduling, NHL. Great scheduling there. It's a lot of hockey, though, that the Leafs are playing in a very condensed period of time, which is not great either for, the players who are playing a lot,
Yeah.
And I think it was in practice yesterday or today, Sheldon Keefe kind of acknowledged that Tavares' struggles, could be a result of he's feeling a little tired. They haven't had a lot of rest time, and he's had to play a lot of hockey, and they haven't had many days off. There's been a bunch of back to backs in between. There's another one coming up this weekend, and it's just been a really condensed schedule since coming home from Sweden. And the All Star break can't get here quick enough for some of these guys. I
Yeah.
will say that. Anything else you want to mention, Dave, before we get out of here today? I don't know, went on a rant there for no reason.
No, I just think it's gonna be a busy weekend. A lot of stuff going on. So we'll see how it all shakes out. I'm see obviously we'll see Samsonov get back in the net too.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Is he just back now, by the way? Like, is that just
I think they're gonna play. Yeah, it's clear they're not gonna play Hildeby. That's not happening. Joseph Wool's not close to returning, so I think it's gonna be Samsonov that you're gonna see in the net, probably against Seattle.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I just they haven't really mentioned anything about him. Like when they first brought him up, they're like, yeah, we'll see. He's with the group. It's good for his mentals to be back with the team and yada yada yada. And then he plays the one game, and then it's like, yeah, he's gonna join us on the road trip. And it's like, okay, well, is he back? Like, is this official? Like, is Samsonov
yeah.
the number 2 again? I guess so. He didn't implode in that game against Detroit, so I suppose maybe he's back. I guess we'll see in Seattle. All right. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcast platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. If you enjoyed this video on YouTube, go ahead and smash that like button. Let us know down below how you are feeling about the Maple Leafs at this point. Did this win alleviate some of the pressure on Toronto? Let us know in the comment section down below. We'll be back with another episode for you guys on Monday. Enjoy the games this weekend. Go Leafs, go. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.